Hi, everyone. It's me, Maria. My topic of discussion is the 1970 shootings at Kent State University and also Jackson State College. So, in the 1960s and into the 70s, the country was very divided over the war in Vietnam and also the racism and segregation of the time. The younger generation was becoming more socially and politically aware, and they were demanding change. This was the case at Kent State University in Ohio and Jackson State College in Mississippi. So let's get started with Kent State and what happened there. Essentially, members of the National Guard fired on Kent State University demonstrators. They ended up killing four and injuring nine other students. What happened was in 1970, April 30th, President Nixon announced that the U.S. was going to invade Cambodia, further expanding the Vietnam War, which made a lot of people mad because he had promised to end the war during his 1968 presidential campaign. Two young college students, they saw this as a violation of the promises he had made to them. The following day, the town of Kent experienced a lot of anti-war protests, and the mayor of the town declared a state of emergency, and he asked Governor James Rhodes for help. Soon after that, the Ohio National Guard was sent to the town of Kent. By May 3rd, hundreds of guardsmen were seen on campus, and it was relatively calm until the later on that day. Governor Rhodes gave a press conference, and he called the campus protesters the worst type of Americans, and he said that he would use all the power of the law to deal with them. After that, it was largely assumed by the National Guard and the university leaders that the state of Ohio had taken control of the campus and that all rallies needed to be banned. The following day, on the 4th, the 4th of May, students began gathering in an area called the Commons. And by noontime, approximately 3,000 people had come together. A small number of them were student demonstrators that were directly protesting the war. A large number were supporters who were mainly upset about the National Guard taking over the campus, and the rest were just spectators. The Kent police, sorry about that. The Kent police were present along with 100 guardsmen carrying M1 military rifles. The police told the student crowd to disperse and said that all rallies had been banned from campus. But the students protesters shot back with anti-war slogans, and they yelled and they threw rocks. Soon the National Guard was using tear gas and intimidation and moved towards the students and pushed them back uh, over a hill named Blanket Hill. This, the students soon scattered, but a group of guardsmen huddled up at one point, and as they were making their way back up the hill, they suddenly made a 180-degree turn and in unison fired toward the crowd. Some of the shots were fired at the ground, and some of them up in the air, but a few of the guardsmen actually fired directly at the crowd. Students Jeffrey Miller, Allison Krause, William Schroeder, and Sandra Schuer were all killed. Nine other students were wounded. The university shut down immediately and was not able to reopen until later that year. Um, in a federal criminal trial in 1974, charges against the guardsmen were dismissed. And at a federal civil trial the following year, a jury voted that none of the shooters were legally responsible for the incident. So that's Kent State. Moving on to Jackson State College, which had a very similar tragedy just 10 days after the situation at Kent State. Jackson State College was a predominantly black school in the South. And on May 14th, police fired on a group of students, killing two and wounding 12 others. Um, this was a result of increased tension among students, the local youth, and the law enforcement. Like in Kent, there had been several days of protest in town prior to the shootings. Students and the local youth were protesting racism that they experienced in town. They were voicing their concern over the U.S. involvement in Vietnam, just like um, all other universities of the time. And they were also protesting the killings that had just occurred in Kent State just a few days earlier. On the evening of the 14th, about 100 black students gathered on Lynch Street, which is a site that had that held frequent conflict between the white and black people in town. And reportedly, the black students were throwing rocks at the white people driving down the street. Um, so the local police was called in, and they were asked to disperse the students, and they were able to push them back towards the campus next to Alexander Hall, which is a women's dormitory. After continued tension between the police and the students, the police fired hundreds upon hundreds of rounds towards the students, and 160 of them hit the actual building, Alexander Hall. And to this day, you can still see um, the damage that was caused by the shootings. Okay, so allegedly, the cause um, that started the shooting was that the police saw a sniper on one of the dorm floors. But after a investigation, um, it was found that insufficient evidence was there to complain that there was a shooter inside the building. Okay, so the assault ended with two young black men being killed and others being injured, both by the falling glass um, from the building and also from being trampled by students um, trying to run to safety. The two dead were Philip Gibbs. He was a junior at Jackson State. And the other one was James Earl Green. He was a high school senior who was heading home from working his part time job. None of the shooters in this case were arrested or charged. So, looking at both incidents, um, we can see that, like in Kent State, students at Jackson State College were acting out in protest. We saw law enforcement who were called to handle the student unrest. Also, unarmed students were killed and wounded, and none of the shooters in both cases were punished. Unlike Kent State, which is a predominantly white college, the incident at Jackson State did not get the same kind of media attention, so it was largely forgotten. Um, so here are a few questions that I've been asking myself, and I would also like to pose to you. One, do you think that the National Guard should have been called to Kent University? Second, could the shootings have been avoided if the rally at Kent State had not been banned? And the last question is, why do you think that the shooting incident at Jackson State, which has so many similarities to Kent State's, got such a different media and public response? Okay, well, here is my topic. I hope that the video and my handout will be helpful to you. I look forward to seeing you at the next class session. Have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.